Hey friends, welcome to The Perspective. My name is Mike, and once again, I am filling in for the smarter Mike. I think I said better looking earlier in the week, but I will keep pumping him up over and over and over. But on my end today, I get to interview an amazing Christian artist named Kagan. This man has a story. This man has, a heart for Jesus and a heart for people. And God has given him a gift as a songwriter to take this story and take his love with Jesus and to use it to influence people like yourself. So, before we get into the interview, I want you to get a little taste of Kagan's brand new song called Focus. Here we go. Let's check it out.
Need to focus on you. I just need to focus. I just need to focus on you.
So that is a little taste of the song Focus by Kagan. And listen, even better, we have him here today. So everyone, give your hands at home as you're watching this on TV. Let's make some noise. Literally yell if you're in your house or watching this online. We got this amazing guest, Kagan. Thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Mike, thanks for having me on the call. And a big shout out to my friend Sharon from Vision PR. She's amazing.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Maybe she's clapping as well. I'm not sure why I made people clap, but you clapped, so someone listened. I really
You got me to do it. And hopefully you got other people to do it too.
hope someone's recording them as they're doing that. First of all, thank you so much for being a part of the show. For those who don't know you, how did you become a little boy in Texas to now living in Nashville, Tennessee? Tell me about that
Oh,
journey.
brother, I was practically raised under the piano. It was my family, they were worship pastors in Pasadena, Texas by the time I was born. Well, from the time I was born, all the way up until we moved to California. They were dean of music at a Christian Life college over in the Stockton area. And then from California to Washington to Ohio, all the way back down to Texas, and then moved to Nashville. When we moved to Nashville, our family was actually going to start a church. We had a startup for about 3, 4 years right before COVID came around. And my brother and I wanted to pursue music. And I think the passion for music came from being around it so much, especially as you grow up with a ministering family. It just becomes a part of you. And so I think the love for ministry, the love for music, it just came from growing up around it.
I love that. Do you remember your first instrument? Did you learn the piano? Was it like the recorder, ukulele? How did you
I
start?
I want to say my first instrument was my voice, to be honest, because I didn't learn piano till I was 18, which is terrible because I'm 27 now. I'm turning 28 in just a few months, and it's like it's terrible. But I would want to say my first instrument was my voice.
That's incredible. That's incredible. It gives people hope, by the way. Um,
Oh, I hope so.
I hope so. I hope so. It gives me hope. I actually quit. No, I remember what happened for me. I had an opportunity to take piano lessons when I was like 7 years old. And
Yeah.
I said no. So maybe you're
You
giving
know,
me hope. I'm not 18, but I can pretend to be like you and start doing this. Maybe.
I wish my parents just said, "Kagan, you gotta stick with it," because I learned piano as a kid from the time I was, 7 to 8, and then we had to move, and it just stopped. So, I wish
Wow.
I stuck with it, though.
But you're doing music right now, and
I am.
obviously from a very young age, you were surrounded by music and you recognize God has given you an incredible gift, when in your voice, and then eventually on the piano, all the other instruments. You have to learn some music abilities, beyond
He's still
that. But
working.
but here you are. Now, the reality is For some people who grow up in like a pastor's household, when your family's in ministry, some people see the behind the scenes and they're like, I want nothing to do with ministry or music or any type of leadership. They run away from that. What made you decide to run towards that and pursue this calling to do music and share your faith through it?
You know, I used to go to these events that were for pastors' kids, and a lot of the message that was promoted was, "You're a pastor's kid, you're living in a glass house," and stuff like that, and I think my parents did such a good job when I was little protecting me from that thinking and actually really just protecting me from the reality. Sometimes it is a glass house. Everything you do, um, is seen by all the members of the church around you, wherever your family is ministering, and I think growing up in a not a closed down, protection, but a protection to where my parents let us be kids. We made mistakes. That's what being a kid is about, really. Um, but they guided us and protected us to the point where ministry, I had this fondness and this love for the lifestyle of ministry. Not like it did cost a lot. There were some times when my family didn't really have a lot to eat on certain weeks, and I was used to sacrifice because of it. But I fell in love with the idea of reaching people, and that was really implemented in me when I was maybe 13. Like that was something that was just carved into my heart. And I feel like it really just props to them because they did such an amazing job showing me this is what ministry is about. It's not about being in front of all these people and they're just waiting for you to do something wrong. You're going to make mistakes. But it's yeah, I feel like I fell in love with it because of how it was presented to me.
Wow. First of all, if you're a pastor's kid, I think every pastor kid needs to hear that. But also, I think anyone who wants to pursue ministry, period, needs to hear exactly what you just said. Wow. That's incredible. First of all, I'm just amazed by that story. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, as you're on this journey, I know mental health had played a part in your journey too.
Oh,
Are you willing to share a little bit
yeah.
about that part of your story?
Yeah, of course. I didn't realize that I had a struggle with, I don't want to just say depression is more like I'm a very melancholy person. A lot of songwriters are. A lot of good songwriters are melancholy. But I think when it becomes a you have to know there's a problem to recognize the problem, right? And when back in 2018, my grandfather passed away very suddenly, and it was such a hard hit. But things felt like they just kept falling apart, falling apart, falling apart for the next 4 years. In the church I mentioned earlier that we were starting up, COVID really did it in bad, and, it just felt like everything was starting over. Music didn't take off at the time like I thought it was going to. I was, like, 20, 21, or 22, and it just wasn't going as quickly as I hoped, and by the grace of God, it didn't not because I wasn't ready. Um but there were multiple things that just kept happening. It was losing friends, losing loved ones, or even just losing opportunity. And there were I don't want to get too specific on the situations, but there were some key situations that drove me to the point of thinking some very dark thoughts. And I had to come to an encounter with Jesus with those thoughts. I had to present them to him because he's not afraid to hear those things. He's not afraid of questions and he's not afraid of problems. And I had to present those problems to him. And there was an evening where I was like, God, I need you to just take this from me. And I heard the voice of the Lord say, I will, but I'm going to replace it. And he took those things straight from my heart and he replaced it with his love. He replaced it with his joy. And there are days where you go up and you go down, hence being a songwriter, the life of being a melancholy songwriter. But I'm not having to deal with the depression, the dark thoughts, not having to deal with anger. The Lord completely redeemed me from that, but it's because I had to surrender it to him. I had multiple mentors I was talking with, but it had to come to a point where I surrendered it to Jesus and he solved it. Uh,
Wow. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for sharing that. And as we segue into the next segment, if you are watching online and you resonate with what he said about those dark thoughts, maybe you need someone to pray for you. Here at The Perspective, we have a 24/7 prayer line where you can talk to real people who want to hear your story. And maybe you are wrestling with mental health and just dark thoughts and you need someone to pray. We are here for you. We want to pray for you. So call that number. And in a few minutes, we'll be back with Kagan for round two. See you in a bit.
Hey, welcome to The Perspective. Mike Sherbino here. We're glad you're with us.
It's all right here. Watch when you want, where you want.
Well, welcome to The Perspective. I'm Lori.
Real stories, honest questions, a fresh perspective, right where you are.
Today, take time to relish in
The Perspective. Follow, like, share. You're part of the mission.
And welcome back. Here we are with this amazing artist, Kagan. And we had such a great time the first segment, and I hope you did too, because you need to listen, okay? He is a Christian artist, and he has a really cool style to what he does. He takes worship, but he combines it with modern pop, which you don't see all over the place, these days. So Kagan, where did that style come from? Were there artists or musicians you listened to growing up or that inspired you to go that direction?
Yeah.
Or maybe there's musicians that you didn't like, don't say their names. You're like, I don't want to be like them, so I'm going to do something different with the worship modern pop style. Well, what influenced your style?
Oh, I can. When I say this name, it's going to probably make total sense. Stephen Curtis Chapman, the man. I feel like is especially back in the '90s, like when he wrote songs like "Dancing with a Dinosaur" or like "It's All About Love." He's just a modern David when it comes to a writer. And the way that he wrote songs is biblically sound, but at the same time, he had such cool elements to him. He's a musician that just so happens to be a Christian, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And it's artists like that, where they take the scripture, but they put that modern tone on it. Even with the '90s, I think it's funny I say like, "Oh, this is like that," but even looking back, those songs are so relevant even to today. Not only do they sound great, but it's like the words of those songs were fantastic, and I still listen to that record. I think that's I can't remember what record it is. The one where he has the mullet. Uh, Stephen Curtis Chapman mullet, man. That's prime time right there. But artists like that, where the lyrics, they still have relevancy, and I love taking scripture and I love putting it in more of a pop format to where it becomes an ear bite. Not every single song is out to just drag someone to the altar. And I say that in a great way because we need those songs. But it's a song that someone can just be humming along while they're driving in the car. And next thing you know, they're speaking all these truths over their lives. And that's why I write the way I do. And you could thank Stephen Curtis Chapman. I wish I knew him.
I love it. I'm sure after this interview, the mullet version of Stephen Curtis Chapman's album is going to skyrocket. He's going to be looking, saying, where are all these sales coming from? It's because
Yeah.
you encourage people, look for the mullet album, okay? You got to meet him one day. I've done a few events with him over the years as a speaker, and
Oh, wow.
he served me ice cream once, so maybe we'll have ice cream together. Let's make it happen.
You never
okay?
know.
We'll never know. As for your songwriting, I know. Oh, he's a legend, by the way. So cool that you are inspired by his type of music, and but you put your own verse to it. You obviously put your own music to it. You write your own music. You write your own melodies, but you also write your own lyrics. And part of your songwriting has been influenced by past relationships, or maybe even current relationships in your life. I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. When you are songwriting, and especially when you start young like I did, I started songwriting when I was 14 or 13 or 14, around there. You think you understand what it means to write a song, and you're just going about like the normal verse, chorus, second verse, bridge formats, but it doesn't mean anything to you until you had life experience. And sadly enough, I had, and I know we're gonna bring this back to Jesus, but I did have a really, really bad breakup once, and that did make me realize, oh, I know how to put life into a song. And after that moment, my songwriting changed forever. And I realized that I always thought my brother was the poet, and I am a poet too. And I'm not saying that in like a glorification kind of way. It was a truth that I didn't realize. And, or maybe it was just something God unlocked in my brain. But going through scenarios like I had a friend who didn't believe in God, and we had long conversations. And it's just I wrote a song once just basically communicating the factor, like, how could you not believe in something so amazing? Something that would just take the weight off of your back. It's those kinds of relationships. And even I had a really close friend. I wrote a song for them where our relationship was never the same after a major encounter. But now we are closer, like he and I are closer than brothers, if that makes sense. But I had to get through it by writing a song about it. And the song was all about forgiveness, saying, listen, I hurt you, you hurt me. Everything that everything that you did, I'm completely letting it go. Will you do the same and can we restore this? And having those kinds of songs for myself has been just not just cathartic, but I've been able to walk true forgiveness where, hey man, I'm letting go of all of this. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, and that's powerful. And I mean, I'm grateful you only gone through one breakup. I've gone through like 45, and
No, I,
and I never wrote a song about it. So I'm glad you took this pain and life lesson, and not just wrote a song, but you're doing ministry at the same time. Like what you're
yep,
writing and what you're singing about, it's going to speak to
important.
people that
Right.
you may never even know their name, but that message and
Yep.
that experience and how God walked you through that, especially with forgiveness,
Yep.
that might inspire so many more people who might resonate with those emotions and feelings and thoughts that
Yep.
come out of your music. Now, as for your music, you released a song, Focus.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Oh, so that song was in collaboration with Praise House and Mass Anthem. So it's a group that I'm associated with, some amazing people. And the first time writing with them, I was in the room with Ben Lawrence, Jordan Stevens, and Diana. I can't remember her last name. She's gonna beat me up. But I was in the room with some amazing people, and we were just trying to find something to write about. We were just trying to think of something, and Jordan had this amazing thought. He kind of brought us to First Kings, where Elijah was out in the wilderness by himself, and he was all alone, and he was just kind of dealing with some of the thoughts we were talking about earlier. He was just trying to find God somewhere. And God wasn't in the lightning, he wasn't in the loud noises, he wasn't in the earthquakes, he was in a still small voice. And Jordan was like, I want to write a song that just says, I just want to focus, clear all the noise, get all of the because you think about, you could be driving down the road, you have the sounds of the buses, the sounds of cars just blaring by you, or even when you're in, let's just say, a mall, the conversation everywhere, everyone's looking at their phones constantly, this constant stimulation. What if we all just stopped and just breathed, and what if we were quiet and let God just talk? The amount of healing, the amount of restoration that could happen, especially when you know the truth and you know who Jesus is personally. What if we were just quiet? And that's the whole premise of that song. And we've already received so many messages and text about that song, saying this song is my pastor literally preached about this Sunday, and I was just listening to this song. We've received some amazing messages about it, and I'm so glad it's doing what it's supposed to do, and that's minister. So
I love that. So first of all, thank you for being a guest on our show. Thank you for writing that song. Thank you for your music and also your ministry. And I sincerely mean what I'm about to say. Like, I hope you can be the Stephen Curtis Chapman for the new generation,
thank you.
minus the mullet, okay? Minus the
Yeah.
mullet. But
Oh, you never know.
you never know.
You
But
never know.
you never know. But listen, thank you so much for being a guest. And for those who are watching, Kaégan, I want you to find him online. Let's be his biggest fan. Let's cheer him on with the ministry and the music that he is doing. And go check out his song, Focus.
Did you know you can stream our shows on demand? We are thrilled to announce the launch of our channel on Roku TV. You can now watch the Perspective shows anytime you like and navigate through a variety of playlists. How to find us? Simply search for the Perspective channel, find our logo screen, and save it under your channels of choice on your Roku selection menu. Don't miss out. New feature shows will be updated weekly.
Hey, friends, for today, our teaching comes from Acts chapter 3, verse 1 to 10. Now, let me read that for you. It says, one day, Peter and John were going up to the temple at the time of prayer at 3 in the afternoon. Now, a man who was lame from birth was being carried to the temple gate called Beautiful, where he was put every day to beg from those who were going in to the temple courts. When he saw Peter and John about to enter, he asked them for money. Peter looked straight at him, as did John. And Peter said, "Look at us." So the man gave them his attention, expecting to get something from them. Then Peter said, "Silver or gold I do not have, but what I do have I give you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, walk." Taking him by the right hand, he helped him up, and instantly the man's feet and ankles became strong. He jumped in to his feet and began to walk. Then he went with them into the temple courts, walking and jumping and praising God. When all the people saw him walking and praising God, they recognized him as the same man who used to sit and beg at the temple gate called Beautiful. And they were filled with wonder and amazement at what had happened to him. So to understand this culture in the context of this message, it wasn't uncommon in that time for people to hang out around the temple in Jerusalem and hoping people would come and give them money and help take care of them in that way. So we see this one man who every single day was placed in the same spot, the east part of the temple gate called Beautiful. And he was hoping people would give him money until he bumped into Peter and John, Jesus' disciples. And they saw this man's physical need, and obviously I'm sure they had compassion, but they saw something bigger. They saw a spiritual need in this man. And even beyond that, they saw an opportunity in front of them. A couple years ago, I had to wake up super early on a Sunday morning to go to a worship practice before church and obviously help lead worship throughout the morning services. Now, worship practice before church on a Sunday morning means you're waking up super duper early, around 6:30 a.m. So I wake up and I start driving to the church and realize I needed gas. So I went to the gas station. And as I'm filling up the gas in my car, this man comes up to me. His name is Greg. He said, "Hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but my car broke down like kilometers down the road. And I've been standing here for hours trying to get people to help me and no one's helping." I said, "What do you need?" He shared what he needed. And in that conversation, I said, "How about this? I'll drive you home." So Greg gets into my car. And one of the first things he said to me was, "Man, you must be coming from a very wild party to be up at 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday." And I'm like, no. I went to bed early. I'm actually going to church. And this man looking at me like I'm on something, you know? And I saw this opportunity in front of me, yeah, to give this man a ride home, but also to now share why I go to church. And I saw this opportunity and I took it to share my testimony and also share Jesus with him. He gets out of the car. He said, "I need to be honest with you. I don't have a car broken down at all. Like I was partying all night. My wife kicked me out and like I was struggling and oh, thank you for helping." He closes the door, goes on his way. About 5 weeks later, I'm speaking at a different church. And while I'm talking to people in the lobby, someone comes up behind me. He puts his hands on my shoulder. He says, "Hey, Mike." And I turn around and Greg is standing there. And he's about to cry. And he says, "I thought you were an angel. Once you picked me up and shared Jesus and talked about going to church, I changed my entire life. I was healed. You know, I stopped doing drugs. He said he stopped drinking. He stopped partying. He changed his lifestyle. He got back together with his wife. How amazing is that?" But even better, he said, "Now I go to church and I'm about to get baptized in a couple weeks." Praise God. And I truthfully, on my end, did not do anything special. I just saw an opportunity in front of me that went beyond his physical need. No different than Peter and John, and maybe no different than you. Here you are every single day. God gives you an opportunity to be his hands and feet. God gives you an opportunity to share the gospel. God gives you an opportunity to love people around you. And the question I have is, are you taking those opportunities? Are you seeing those opportunities? Are you recognizing them on a daily basis? And my hope and prayer for you is that you can have the eyes that Jesus had for people of that time, for the people of this time, and that you can take the opportunities God places in front of us on a regular basis to not only help people physically, but see the spiritual that need that they have in knowing Jesus.
God is moving all around the planet. And in the last 25 years, there's been a massive shift in global missions. Get this, in 1999, there was 1 to 3 known church plant movements. Now, a church plant movement is when churches are planting churches and God is moving and exploding in a geographical region in massive ways. In 1999, there was about 1 to 3. In 2001, there was 19. In 2006, there was over 119 to 120. But as we turn the corner into 2020, there were 654 known tracked church plant movements. So God is moving in unprecedented ways in our day, and leaders around the world are mobilizing to get to the rest of the world. And so the Great Commission could be fulfilled in our lifetime.
Thank you so much for joining us for this show, as well all the shows we had this week. And on a personal note, thank you for allowing me into your home and on your screen. As we talked to amazing guests throughout the week who share some really important and powerful things. And the guest today, Kaégan, he introduced us to his song, Focus. And the reality is, it's hard to focus on Jesus in this very busy world full of distractions. Now, one of the beautiful ways to help us focus on Jesus are daily devotionals. And here at The Perspective, if you want to walk with us in our daily devotions, go to the website and you can pick one up. How amazing would that be for you to take that and every day before work or school, you can open it up and focus your attention on Jesus. Incredible. But also through the week, God's been speaking in many different ways. And maybe one of those ways is you responding to the gospel. And if that is you, if you want to make a decision to follow Jesus, please call our prayer line. It's open 24 hours a day. You can talk to real people who want to help you navigate that big decision. So here we are again. We want to say thank you one more time. Thank you for joining us on The Perspective.